I'm gonna go grab some coffee.
Nathan, where are you?
I am currently in the dungeon of my house, but I'm out in San Diego. Whitney from Keller Williams La Mesa invited me to participate. I'm kind of observing and checking out her team.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to learn.
So, Sonny, do you know how to copy and paste and copy and keep the chat?
Sometimes I do. Let me see if I can do it right now.
I want to make sure that we get in a habit of doing that, and so I'll have it to look at. And plus, people may be putting in, like Nathan's new, and we don't have his information, so we definitely want to invite him to future ones. And I have been worried about Brian. I figured that basically he just got a job at Target because he couldn't get a listing.
No, I'm cranking it away, Denny. I don't more time work my business, the less time I got for other people, but I'm cranking it away.
Well, your apartment's looking better. I don't see a bed half made in the background, so
No, no, it's the other room. I got a
During the meeting, click chat. Click chat.
how's the weather been over there, Denny?
Chat window, click the ellipses, then click save chat.
are you talking out loud for a reason?
Oh, sorry. I'm reading the directions on how to do it.
Just mute it for a second. What'd you say, Brian?
How's the weather over there?
It's supposed to be like almost 88 today.
Oh gosh, it's raining today.
I got Moses. Hey, Moses, what's up?
How are you, Denny?
It looks sunny there.
It is. How's your day going?
It's off. They're always awesome. Then I leave here, of course, family reunion. If you're a KW white, family reunion is in Orlando. So after the class, I'll be heading that way.
Man, I wish I could go. I had to renew my license and I haven't been focused on anything else. So I kind of fell back a little. And then I just finished the MREA book. And so I started a lead with cold calling. I don't usually do that because I'm afraid to get sued.
What are you afraid of about getting sued? The call and do not call list?
Exactly.
Well, there's ways out there to get the list already scrubbed for you.
I know, but we had a meeting this week or last week, and they mentioned that even if you have a third party that you buy from, which I do, the liability still falls on the person making the call no matter what. If they don't accept your apology or whatever.
Okay, so are you into just a moment of coaching here before we start?
I'm sorry?
Are you open to 30 seconds of coaching on this?
Of course, always. That's why I'm here.
So when you sell a house, is there some lingering liability that they're going to say you misrepresented or you could get in trouble?
I sure hope not.
Well, of course there is. And if you happen to have them in the car or they're following you to look at a house and they get into an accident, is there a possibility something could go, they get hurt and you could be liable in some sort of a suit?
Definitely.
So what I'm doing is I'm practicing question-based listening and enhanced conversations scripts with you to help you understand that, you can't get away from anything that would be 100% non-liability proof. And everybody else here on the call, they can chime in here because we're getting ready to kick it off here. They don't really, from what I understand, that's like if you go 3 miles over the speed limit, technically you're breaking the law. However, you're probably not going to get a ticket for it. They don't go after I don't think, if you're doing your best to stay away from that. In your hand calling, John's worked with dialers before, versus a multi-line dialer and you got some sort of sweatshop like what's that movie? Anyway, so I would reevaluate the risk reward there because the reward is awesome. The risk is very small.
I'm very happy. The book really motivated me, Danny. I can't believe it.
Awesome.
You want some insights on that then?
Yeah, just a second. Let me welcome everybody, and we'll have that discussion here for a few minutes because the whole topic really is, okay, there's potential boogeymen out there, and no matter what we do, let's make sure that we evaluate the risk and move forward based on our evaluation. So welcome everyone. It's Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern, and I'm Denny Grimes. My co-host is John McLeod. He's here, and our lovely Sonny Hammermeister is working in the background and watching the chat. So we're talking about question-based listing enhanced conversations in mastery level role play. We've got some exciting news I'm going to be announcing because a lot of people ask, hey, look, is there any way that we can have some more individual attention? So we're putting together a package for you if you'd like to have, like, it's not really coaching, it's group training, kind of like we're doing in a small group or even individual training. We're rolling that out. So yeah, the question came up, and if you're logging on about, getting geared up, wanting to call, and Moses just finished the MREA book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. So if you have not seen that, you may want to look at it because it is a blueprint to net $1 million from an agent standpoint. Yes, that's 7-figure income, not so bad, right? And involves lead generation, and sometimes there's some cold calling in there, and we've all heard the horror stories of cold calling, and also because I'm a bold coach, even texting, there's the TCPA, and I'm not going to get lost in the weeds here. However, really quick is, and if you're doing your best to scrub the list and maybe buying a list to scrub, the risk is kind of small, and you're not setting up some sort of sweatshop with multi-line dialers. So John has some experience with this, and so you'll put a bow on it, and if there's any questions or discussion about it, we'll have them. If not, we'll move into a very familiar objection. Go ahead, John.
All right, thanks, Denny. Okay, my take on dialers, and I've used them for years. First of all, anything that you are not automatically connected as soon as the system dials for you, I would stay away from. And Mojo is one of those. Whether you use a single line or up to their 6-line dialers, you are not connected until their computer actually connects you. The dialer that's available, for instance, through Vulcan 7, this is not an endorsement, that happens to be who I use. The dialer I use with Vulcan 7, you are connected to them, you hear the phone ring. It is a true single line dialer. It is aiding your ability to be able to dial phone numbers. Secondly, your opening script. Never ask this question. When are you going to hire the right agent to sell your home? Because if you do call somebody that's on the DNC list, you just solicited them. Never ask a soliciting question. Ask them what happened. Let them guide you and give you permission to ask for a sales question. Remember, the DNC list technically is not a do not call, it's a do not solicit. So there's my blink.
That's awesome, John. I appreciate that. So here we go. We're talking about mastery level role play. We do this every Thursday, and we're going to stay on Thursdays until for a couple of weeks, and then we'll probably shift over to Tuesdays. Tuesdays again, maybe. May have to shift because of my bowl schedule. And what I mentioned just a second ago about the group training, I had a number of calls in the last 2 weeks about wanting to get deeper and a deeper level. And so it's difficult to do in a large group like this. And we're happy to do this and give you value. However, if you want a little bit more individualized, if you want to, polish up your presentation, polish up your level of questions by changing your thinking, we put together a group program, totally optional for you if you want it. And it kind of is based on having a small group, probably no more right now than 8. I like to have an even number because you might have a partner in there that you actually do a little practice with. And it's $300 a month, paying it monthly, just a 3-month minimum. So, you'll have about 12 classes, maybe 13 based on how the months roll. And we're going to keep it to a class size of 8. So if you're interested in something like that, just email me. It's Denny Delivers Training. If somebody will put that in the chat, that would be awesome. Denny Delivers Training at gmail.com. If you want more information about that, awesome. I also have done a number of training one-on-one. If you would like to have one-on-one so we can just work on your presentation, get you there faster. It's $800 a month with for a 45-minute call for a 3-month commitment. Not a big deal. Now, I put in the chat, if you can scroll back really quick and maybe take a picture of it. Some of the topics that we'll be covering in more in depth in the individual training. Really quick.
Hey, Denny,
yeah.
you might want to put that back up in the chat again. If they came in late, they're not going to be able to scroll back to it.
Really? They can't see it all? I'm going to send this to Sunny. She'll probably never read my writing. Let's see if she can read my writing and put it in, and then you guys can watch for it. If not, we'll make sure you get it. Hang on a second. There we go. All right. I'll put John in there too, because he could probably read my writing. He probably writes like me. Really quick though, as you're going to get it in the chat, it's going to be basically how to be a market expert without being a PhD. Number 2, how to use the power of stories in your presentation. Number 3, how to use the power of their language, the power of analogies. So if you're working with a teacher, working with a firefighter, working with a doctor, how can you make your presentation on the fly to have the keywords, particularly when you're drawing analogies to help you communicate? How would you like to be able to have your value proposition so tight so that you have your elevator speech? Why should I hire you? From a buyer or seller's perspective. We'll be covering that. We'll be talking about the art of silence, which is the power and the skill of listening. We'll be talking about the art of why, how to get into their why without beating around the bush. I'm not talking about your why. You can work on that with your other coach. And by the way, if you have another coach, keep them, because we're going to be working on skills and how to be unattached to the outcome. So if you'll be kind enough, John, to find our first role play partners. I've got a note over here I'm going to grab, and we're going to go to the number 1 objection we have from sellers is, I'd love to sell, but I can't find anything to buy. So get our first couple, maybe a volunteer agent and potential seller.
Bryant is just easing towards his keyboard. Jeff, you came off mute. What would you like to do?
I'd like to be the seller since I volunteered first.
Okay, you get the easy route. Bryant, are you going to be the agent, or are we going to let somebody else step up and handle that?
I'll be the agent.
All right, Denny, Bryant is going to be the agent handling this. Jeff Pennington is your seller.
Well, I'll tell you what, watch out. Brian has been laying low. He's probably in good shape. He's like a football player like Gronkowski. He hadn't been here in a while, so I expect great things. So are you ready to go? Set the timer. We're going to be here at 4 minutes. Let's follow the model, and I'll put it up there for the people that have not seen this before. The model is acknowledge,
Isolate. You don't even know your.
Here's
what's the objection? I mean, what's the
Yeah, I'll give it to you a second. The model is acknowledge, isolate, address, and close. And the objection is the seller says, you know, I'd love to sell. However, I'm afraid I won't be able to find something to buy. The number 1 objection. Go ahead. 4 minutes. Go.
So who am I speaking with again?
Jeff Pennington,
Yes,
right?
Jeff. So what I'm hearing is you don't want to sell because you don't know where to go to next, right?
Yeah, I'm just concerned that it seems like it's really hard to buy a house right now, and I don't want to be stuck in a situation where I'm homeless.
Okay. And is that the only reason why you don't put your home on the market today is because you don't know where to go to next?
Yeah, I would say other than that, yeah, maybe. I mean, I also don't want to get stuck in a situation where I've got to buy something and overpay just to get in the door.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that of course, you don't want to overpay for something that you really love, but you don't want to be homeless as well. That's what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think for me, being homeless is not an option. So then me having to take whatever I can find is what ultimately would be the, situation. And if I had to, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to do something I'm not comfortable with to make sure I've bought a house.
Okay. And I guess those 2 things are the only thing really stopping you from selling today, right?
Yep, that's it. I'll
Okay.
be ready to go otherwise.
Yeah, and Jeff, if we found something even after your house is on the market, you really loved it. I mean, is it okay? Would you be comfortable with spending what $15,000-$20,000 over asking just to get that property?
Oh yeah. I wouldn't have any concern. You know, my concern is more having to take something I'm not really happy with that I have to pay a ton over on. You know, yeah, I'm not too concerned about, you know, stepping up a little bit. That's not an issue at all. I mean, hopefully I'll make enough on my house that it's worth it.
Yeah, of course. Seller, I mean, would you agree sellers are in control of this market?
100%.
Okay. And if we were to, of course, put your house on the market and you get over asking, how can we leverage you in your position that you're in now to put you in a better position to buy?
Well, that's a good question. That's my concern is that I won't be able to find the right house, you know, for the right money, you know, after I sell this one. So it's really just that fear of not knowing what I can get, you know, once I've sold mine.
Yeah, so it's more important to have something to live in instead of really paying over asking, right?
Well, ultimately, yeah. I mean, it's to find what I want, but within my budget, yes.
Okay. Now, I guess so far as, you know, of course, there's nothing perfect out there, right, Jeff? I mean, wouldn't you agree? There's nothing perfect out there.
Well, I mean, I guess if my house was perfect, I wouldn't be moving. So that's a fair statement.
Yeah. Okay. So if we were to get closer to something that you really love, I mean, what would be stopping you from selling your house today?
Well, it just the concern of how competitive the market is and, you know, not being able to get that house.
Yeah. Okay. So in this market, how do we leverage you as the most competitive buyer?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah. I mean, you're selling your house. I would think that you have more equity to put down and you could move quickly since you would already be on a contract. So I don't really see any other issue of competing in this market. That's time's up. Yeah.
Well,
Time's up.
4 minutes. 4 minutes is a short time, but that's
I mean, I wasn't being super easy, but I feel like it was a valid point. I guess that'd be my.
So, Brian.
Really quick then, Brian, thank you for doing that. You really fast here. Do you have anything you think you kind of nailed? And if you didn't, is there anything you would like to have a mulligan?
I followed the model. I'd say that for once.
Okay.
Well, I think I did.
Is there anything you would do differently right now?
Have a longer conversation, understand the situation, you know, get face to face.
Got it. And so, Jeff, you are the seller. How do you feel that he was addressing your concern?
So, and this is not a safe space where we can't say our opinion, right? Brian's
a big boy. This is how we learn. I've got notes for him too.
I just did a training class where, you know, they teach you to train and like, you have to make sure that, you know, you're, yeah, Brian, I think you did the model. I think you were on to exactly what you were supposed to be on to. I think where the disconnect is you didn't get complete clarity on what my fear was, and overcoming it by saying, how would you leverage, was not answering the question. My fear was that it's a super competitive market, and how do I, because I'm hearing the stories of 22 offers, 100K over list price. I'm concerned that I sell my house and I go out and I can't find what I want because of that competition. And I think that's what I was trying to get out. And I think so a little more, just from my perspective as a seller, a little more trying to clarify exactly what my fear was, you know, and then figuring out like, okay, what can we do to overcome it? And I think that's where I was just a little disconnected, was you were asking me, how would I leverage? And it's like, as the seller, I'm like,
yeah, I mean, I was trying to get you to
I can't leverage myself.
Yeah, I was trying to get you to figure out the answer so you would do it, but
that's okay. All right. I think that's fair.
Denny.
Does anybody know that was listening? And again, I would like you, although you may not be in the role play, I would like you to be the listener Can anyone articulate, other than what, some key points in Jeff was the seller, his concerns? Because I agree with what Jeff said, and I agree, we followed the model, so there's a kumbaya moment, right? Now let's get down to brass tacks. Can anybody articulate Jeff's concern? I took notes. He said something at least twice, maybe more. There's a key word that he used. Anybody write it down?
Homeless?
Pardon me?
Homeless.
Fear.
He used homeless. Yes, that's one of them. There's another word. I heard homeless once at least, and I was
Fear.
maybe the word I'm looking for, and this is where he leads. Now, not always, however, many times when you're having a conversation, be listening early, because sometimes the little nuggets come out early before we get lost in all the sentences. He said in the first two sentences, or 2.5 sentences, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be stuck forcing myself to buy something I don't want or overpay. He does not want to be what? Stuck.
No.
Now, the model is when you're dealing with a seller like this, and maybe we'll let Jeff go in and we'll have somebody else be the seller. Jeff, now you just lived that. I want you to be whoever's going to be the seller here. In fact, I'll just do this. I'll be the seller. I'm gonna take on your persona, Jeff, with the model. Then where would you take me from that? Now, remember, what I teach is this: when you have that potential homeless seller, and write this down, the first thing you've got to determine when you go through the model, acknowledge and isolate, is you're going to ask the question. You got to find out if they're a buyer or seller. Now, in a way, kind of, you know, if Bryant was attempting to do that, and really quick, and here's my feedback for you, Bryant, a couple different things. When you first started practicing, you had a habit of answering a question that you ask. That kind of came back in a couple times. I guess there are only two things. You never fully isolated. He gave you two, and then you made the statement, I guess there's only two things. Now that is an assumption. And you know what they say about assumptions. So when they give you two things, say, okay, other than that, is there anything else? You've got to make sure you get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. And then one more thing here is it's kind of dangerous when Bryant gave him numbers like, well, if you had to pay 15 or 20 over asking price, do you think you have a problem with that? Can anyone, I understand the question. Can anyone tell me maybe what the danger point is in doing that?
You set an expectation. That's
And what is the expectation?
that he'll get that amount over asking.
Well, he was talking to as a buyer at that point of paying $15,000 to $20,000 over. What is the problem with putting those numbers out there?
If I got to pay 50 grand to win in this market, that you've set the bar really low, I think.
That's exactly right. That's the danger in doing that. Now, it's kind of like the guy that puts his picture of Brad Pitt or Thor on a dating website, and he doesn't look anything like that. At some point in time, there's going to be some disappointment set in when they have their first star pups, right? So be careful doing that. So, John, I'm going to switch gears here. John, I want you to be the seller that Jeff was. Jeff, let's go through the model again and zero in on the concern that you had, and let's demonstrate that.
All right, so you want me to be the agent?
Agent, yep. And then John will be you, the seller, the same. You don't have to reinvent everything that's happened. He's going to step in, and I want to see you zero in on John's concern, which was your concern.
All right, so you want to kick it off, John, with the objection?
Sure. You know, Jeff, I am just so concerned about putting the house on the market and then getting stuck buying something that I don't really like. Because I refuse to be homeless.
John, I certainly appreciate that. And obviously if you sell your house, you have to move somewhere else. Other than the idea of being stuck and homeless and not being able to find a place to move, is there any other reason you wouldn't want to sell your house?
Yeah, I certainly can get a lot for the house right now, but like I said, I don't want to go live out in the woods in a van down by the river.
Right, of course. And ideally, just out of curiosity, remind me again, what is your motivation to, if you sold your house, where do you want to go? What is your ultimate destination?
We're going to be staying local. It's my kids have moved out. I don't necessarily need this much home.
Okay, so you are looking at just downsizing and finding a place that meets your needs well.
Yep.
And what does that new lifestyle look like for you?
Well, I don't know if you've had to deal with empty nesting yet, Jeff, but it looks pretty relaxing to me.
All right. So ultimately, you've got to sell your house to enjoy that new relaxing lifestyle. So other than being concerned about not being able to find that property, there's no other reason you wouldn't want to go and start enjoying the new lifestyle and your new place.
No, that's the whole reason. I don't have to go anywhere. I can certainly keep maintaining this place, but ideally would be somewhere that's a little smaller and get to do the stuff we love to do.
All right, John. Well, if I could show you how we could get your house sold and 3 strategies that would make sure that you're not homeless and that you can actually start enjoying that lifestyle, would you be open to looking at that plan?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So let's go ahead and go through those options, and then we'll get your house on the market and get you on your way to your new spot.
Well, I'm on the edge of my chair. So what are the 3 strategies, Jeff?
So number one, we're going to, in this market, we have a lot of buyers who are desperate to buy a home, and they're very flexible. So we're going to make sure, first and foremost, you have plenty of time to find a new place. And I would go through the options of how we do that. Number 2, if you're really concerned about it, we'll actually make it contingent to you finding your home of choice, so that there is absolutely no way that you'll be homeless, because if you don't find your home of choice, you don't sell your house.
Right.
Number 3, with the strategies that I employ and the people that I know and the techniques, and I got a whole list, I guarantee you that we'll get your home sold for more money, less hassle and less stress, to the point where you'll feel comfortable about that decision to get your new property, and we'll find that new property for you. As a matter of fact, I've already got 2 in mind that would be perfect for you.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you a question.
I was embellishing a little bit at the end.
All right, guys. So let's all, Jeff is a big boy. He's been with me a year or so, and he's a pro. I'm going to, what'd you say when Brian, is this like a safe space? Do we have to hold hands and hold pinkies? Can we give you pushback?
No, I want all the pushback that you can give me. I started my script practice group up again, and we're getting hit with objections hard up here. So
if you want to give Jeff some quick feedback before I do, come on camera. And if you were the seller, are you convinced that works? Speak up. Yael, I'm sure you're dying to speak.
I'll address that question, but okay, there was something else I wanted to add also. He was on the preachy mode. Here's what I'm going to do. He wasn't asking him any questions or what his specific concerns he had about finding a home. That was my thought. What I want to jump back to, initially when they started the conversation, he said, oh, I don't have a place to go to. And he said, other than that, is there any other reason? Would you, if you flipped it to what if we could find you the perfect home, is there any other reason?
Well, all right, fair question. Again, the way that I like to do it, and there's more than one way to play a chess match, is I like you guys to resist answering, and that is a close. Generally speaking, when you start going down that path of, well, if we could, would you? I believe there's a possibility there's still some junk in the closet that has not come out yet.
So you're saying that shuts the door for more to come out?
It does.
You're addressing it and you're closing it, but you're not allowing for more open. Yes. Okay.
It's the scene in Gladiator where Russell Crowe's, and they're in a circle, and he's saying, hold. resist handling or answering until you get all the cards on the table. So great question. Thank you, y'all. Anybody else have anything going back? If you were the seller, he gave you 3 things. Has that made you feel comfortable about the fear of being homeless?
Denny, one of the things that I'd like to point out as the seller, and now I thought Jeff did this, and this is my own fault. I thought Jeff did this to help speed the conversation up.
I was a little bit. I got
The end
at
of
the
it,
end.
he
I
was.
just threw that stuff.
And it happens, but one of the points, and I think it bears mentioning, is you have to dig deeper on motivation. I wanted to get to a different lifestyle, but what does the lifestyle look like? Because once you understand what is important about that lifestyle, then you can use my own words as opposed to saying, oh, you know, you want to downsize, you want to acquire a lifestyle. What does that look like? I want to live in a hut in the middle of the Fiji Islands somewhere. And you can use that emotion. And what's that? Why is that important to you? What's it going to do for you? And now you start getting the emotions. Because at this point, you've only been dealing with logic, which is getting us to think. You have to get into the emotions behind it.
Well,
Denny,
there's no,
oh, I have one question. When we're doing this objection, when I'm having this conversation, it's either over the phone. So is our goal to get a listing appointment, or are we at the listing appointment? This is a conversation that you're having before you even get the appointment.
well, many times you're best to have any conversation regarding objections and that type of thing. You should be in person if you can. However, in this day and age, you may not be face to face. It may be on the phone or Zoom. They might be in 2 different locales. And so the interesting thing, the question you just asked is a really good one. How many people feel the goal is to get a listing appointment? I mean, a listing. I don't think that's the goal. I don't think that's the goal in this conversation. Because,
Right.
yes.
I was going to say, like, what's the setting for this conversation? Like, before we do an objection, could we say, okay, we're on the phone, we're in person, we discussed it, we didn't discuss it.
Can I give you mine, Denny? Because that's what I was kind of basing it on.
You're what?
The scenario. So I have a client that was referred to me that wants to sell their house if they can find something they really like, but they've started getting their house ready, but they don't want to put it on the market unless they find a house they really like. And so I've been having the conversation of you know, we're at a competitive disadvantage if we don't sell your house first for you to be able to compete. And so I'm trying to get them. So that's kind of in the back of my mind. That's what I'm running into is they don't want to be stuck because they were stuck before. So that is a real scenario I'm in right now.
I've got the answer if you want it. I got it. I've got the answer, and here, I'm just going to go back, and so we can play that if you want. If you want to be that seller, I've got the foolproof method. Now, I'm saying that not every seller will go forward. It is foolproof. The challenge with Jeff's is it still requires the seller to take a leap of faith. Hey, number 3, hey, look, I do all these things, and I'm sure I'm sure that when you jump out of a plane, I know you don't have a parachute on your back. I'm sure you're going to run into one on the way down. That doesn't make sellers feel real comfortable. Secondly, I don't like point number 2 because I don't know about your market. Any listing worth its salt that's been on the market for less than maybe 200 days probably isn't going to take a contingency. So now you're setting up them to fail. And I don't like to do that because it's like over-promising, under-delivering. This is it. Let me give it to you in a nutshell, and then we can go on to something else. We cover this every week because everyone's dealing with it. Number 1, we'll just cut to the chase. I know who that was. We'll just cut to the chase, y'all, and we are at the table. So
We're at the table. Something's on my computer making noise.
So, Jeff, so I understand. Let's just assume that we've covered everything. I'm not going to go back through the model again. This is how I would address it. Number 1, Jeff, do you have to sell in order to buy?
Yes.
That's uber important, you guys. You can't do anything until you figure out if he's a buyer or seller. He is not both. He he is a seller and a wanter. He can't buy. And so let me ask you this question. What's the difference between working with him to show him properties that he can't buy unless he sells versus showing somebody that doesn't have anything to sell but can't buy because they have no money, no credit? What's the difference?
Exact same thing.
Exact same thing. Exactly. So there's only one way to solve the problem. It would be, you're going to have to find a seller to say, okay, I'll take my house off the market and say no to the 45 other people who want it while you go over there and sell your house. Okay, not much happening there, right? You've got to get the seller some money in order to buy. Now, step one, Jeff is going to be a seller, not a buyer. All right, so I understand. So what's your plan, Jeff? How are you going? And the motivation John talked about is really important. And we make it short here because we're attempting to get on to some other things. However, in reality, you have to understand the motivation. And in Jeff's case, he's got a baby coming and he wants a home office and everybody's in one bedroom right now. So he's going nuts, right? And he's got his mother-in-law there too. So he wants a bigger house. So Jeff, what's your plan? Now, why do you think I asked that question? What's your plan in order to go from your small house to your big house? I'm asking him, why?
You're getting him to start arriving at the answer instead of just telling him. He needs to figure out, oh, step one, oh, step two.
I want him to acknowledge his problem.
Got it. I like that. Acknowledge his problem.
You can't help fix something until they know they have something that needs fixed.
Well, my plan is to find something I really like and then get my house on the market quickly and get it sold. I know my house will sell quick.
Okay. So, all right. So imagine let's just say you found a house that's on the market, a brand new house hits the market. Tell me, are you making a non-contingent offer on that house?
I don't know if I can. I don't think I can because I got to sell my house first.
All right. So what's the probability? So when you go to sell your house because you want to buy another house and a buyer comes in and says, oh, I love your house and I'll give you your number, but you know what? I can't buy it now. I got to sell my house. How attractive would that be to you?
Well, that wouldn't really work because I need to buy this other house.
So you want it to work for you, yet when you buy, but it won't work for you when you sell. Do you see the disconnect?
I do.
Now, I'm not saying you have to do that all the time. I'm just saying, you guys, isn't it better sometimes to make them walk through the thumbtacks and a broken glass on their hands and knees so they feel the pain, so they understand, they switch places? I could just tell them ain't no way that's happening.
What if they throw back at you and you say, well, what's your plan? And what if they say, well, you're the professional. What do you think my plan should be?
Well, I have a plan that'll work for you. I was kind of curious if you had one.
So tell me what your plan is.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So step one, buyer seller. Step two, help them make sure they identify that they have a problem. Step three, are they biting off more than they can chew? Now, is that Mystic? Where am I going next? Anyone, we've been on these calls before. Where am I going next? I want to make sure that I'm on solid footing on where they're going next. How do I do that? All right, I'll tell you. So Jeff, I know you want a bigger house. You want to be over there in the Woodlawn area, right? That's what you said. Have you been watching the market over there? Maybe watching online, seeing the listings come and go?
Yeah, it looks like they're selling pretty quickly.
However, the homes that come on, have you seen some things that would work for your family?
I have seen one or two that I really liked.
Then and they're in your price range, right?
They are.
And if your home was sold and you had all your cash, you would have probably moved forward on them.
Yes.
Okay, that I should have asked. I asked it like Brian. I should have probably just asked the question. So that was kind of a statement. All right, so there's one more key question. This is it. Before you put any timeline on it, it's this. Now I'm walking him through the process and he doesn't know it, but I'm building a cage around his objection. He cannot run. So how often do you see these homes come up that would fit your needs if you were in a position to buy?
Not that often.
Okay, what does that mean? Like every couple of days, every couple of weeks? What's not that often mean?
I mean, we see every couple months one that we really like in that neighborhood.
Okay, I'm going to stop. There's a reason I'm asking these questions. I know that you're sitting there thinking, Denny, this is like watching the movie Out of Africa. I mean, it's like watching paint dry. It's awful. So there's a reason I'm asking these questions. Somebody tell me why.
You're qualifying him and helping him either reevaluate his expectations or adjust his
Well,
price.
I want to make sure. Listen, what's the probability you're talking to a seller that cannot buy until they sell? What's the probability they have not been shopping online, at least looking at homes, wishing and, you know, flipping through the channels or whatever they're doing? I think it's a high probability. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if that's happening and they're seeing some things they like, if they would buy, and I know their time frame, now I can go in and craft the solution. I don't believe you can craft a solid solution until you kind of know the things they've just said every couple of months. That's a little bit rare. However, it doesn't matter. So now here's the question. I feel comfortable with the next question. This is step 4. So Jeff, if you had your home sold, had the money in your pocket, are you saying, and let's just assume you could stay there because they don't want to move in right away. If you had a month or two to shop and you got the money in your pocket, so first time that house hits the market, you can go secure it. Would that give you a comfortable level of time to be able to find your next house?
If I had enough time and the money in my pocket, I mean, things are coming up. I'm being very specific, Denny, to this one client, so I apologize.
Well, I don't care.
Yes,
I mean, it works with even stubborn people.
I would agree. They're like every couple months they see, you know, 1 or 2 houses they really like because they're looking for something specific.
I got it. So is 1 or 2 months enough time for you for another one of these? What do you call these things? Unicorns to come up that you would want to buy?
Yeah, I think if we had 2 or 3 months, that we probably could find something. No problem.
So theoretically, what you're saying, if you had your equity and you could stay in your home, like for example, if you could download an app and this app would let you have equity in your home. So, but it's only for 3 months. You feel comfortable and a house would come up that you could go ahead and act on, then come back here and get your home sold and pay off that app, their equity. Do you think that's possible?
I think that's possible.
Now I have set him up. The reason I'm using something like an app, he knows that I'm making it up. However, he's just painted himself in a corner. So I don't have an app, Jeff. However, you're what we call in this market a golden seller. You know what that is?
No.
That's a seller that would love to sell and they don't want to move out right away, which is perfect because there's buyers out there that want to come into this market, buy a home like yours, secure it, and not have to worry about moving in because their kids are graduating high school, they have a home to sell, who knows what. It's a hand glove fit. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if that buyer was out there that would give you your number and allow you to stay there so you don't have to worry about being homeless, being stuck?
Yes.
All right. So you see where I went. There's just 4 steps. So
could you review the steps real quick again? Just together.
Sure. And you can put these in the chat because I make this up as I go and I don't remember a lot what I say. So number one is find out if they're a buyer or seller. Number 2 is, I think,
What's your plan? You
Yeah,
talked
what's
about.
your, make sure they have a problem. They identify a problem. What's your plan? Number 3, make sure they have a solid footing to go to, because you could be working with a seller that is looking for something in Hawaii or Japan or something they can never afford. So do you think you'll ever solve that problem? So if they said, I'm looking for something specific and I've been looking for 18 years, I've never seen it, that'll be a hard one to do.
Right.
When they say, yeah, I see it every couple of weeks, every couple of months, now they have a place to go. And then the 4th thing is basically, is you parallel it. I mean, if I had a buyer or if I had an app, it's a what if. It's if this could happen, if there were a buyer out there that would let you stay there, and don't get balled up in lease backs or rent backs or the lender won't do it. We're talking and we're just spitballing here. If I had the equity in my pocket to give you now, Jeff, and you could have it for 3 months, and you could stay there, would that make you feel comfortable? So those are the 4 steps. Not everyone, it won't work on everyone, like everything doesn't work on everyone. However, it'll work on somebody who's rational. Let me hear for some other people out there. Come on. This is out there, you guys. If you can handle this conversation, you're going to pick up listings that no one else is going to be able to touch.
Denny, I think my big aha from this whole conversation was, if I had been practicing this and had thought this out, and I had been coming to your script practice and discussing this 3 months ago, and I mean this sincerely, I think I could have had a better conversation up front that would have allowed me to start the relationship with these buyers on the right foot. Buyers/sellers.
No, thank you. That's flattering. Well, now can you go back and use anything with them now to make it and move it forward?
I can't. Yeah, I'm going to go through that scenario kind of the way we talked about. But I can definitely see where it would have worked much more effectively at the beginning, because we've had bit and piece conversations, and if I had laid it out from the beginning like this, it definitely it'd be more impactful.
The only thing, thank you for that. The only thing, and we had 2 people to do it, and John, we can go in whatever direction you want to next. And I'm sorry, I talked a lot. The 2, Bryant and Jeff, you guys, the only thing you guys did not do that I think you must do is deal with the issue that they're not feeling like they're jumping out of an airplane, and don't worry, you'll run into a parachute on the way down. Does that analogy make sense?
How do you avoid, like, yes, that analogy made sense, even though you weren't asking me. What if they loop? I find like people loop, and you're like, obviously if they keep repeating the same objections, that means they don't feel heard and understood. So what do you do when people just keep, like, they'll keep with the objection and you're not really?
Well, fair question. Now, John, you can follow up on this if you want. The reason I take them around the mountain like Moses did, right, for 40 years, and ask those questions, what if questions, versus just ask them the closing question right up front, is that it makes no logical sense for them to say, yeah, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that, or I could do that. And then what if we could find a buyer that would do that? Well, no, I can't do that. Because it's not logical. I actually triangulate them where then their logic, I trust, is kicking in. So if they still give you the objection, well, you might not be at the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop, or they just like talking to you, and they're going to do that for the next 10 years. John?
No, Denny, I think you covered that one quite well. I wanted to reach out, and chat's disabled right now, so I wanted to reach out to everybody who has a particular objection that you want to cover right now, whether it's a real scenario or something you've been struggling with. Mindy, what do you got?
I have some clients that are moving from Florida to Massachusetts. They need to sell their house before they can buy a house up here, but they have to move out of their house before they can put it on the market. And they want me to find a house that they can rent to buy, a rent to own, which, you know, that's a unicorn.
Yep.
And it needs to be handicap accessible, which, by the way, the perfect house came on the market today for them. And I'm just trying to see, because, the reason that they have to sell the other house is because they want to pay cash for this one.
Why do they have to sell? Why do they have to sell after they're out?
I have a feeling it's because of all the medical equipment that they have at the house. And the agent down there said that they need to move out so that he can stage the place.
So, all right. So, John, get ready. I'm going to turn it over to you. I mean, the first thing that's come up, you follow the model is, you know, other than that, blah, blah, blah. So acknowledge, isolate. So are you saying then, you be the seller, that if you had a cash offer or that had an offer on your home that you found acceptable right now, even though you're still there, you would turn it down?
Well, nobody's coming into my house right now.
Well, it's not on the market, is it?
No, it's not on the market.
So if I knew someone that would love to have this house and pay you your price, would you sell it to them?
Yeah, I'd be concerned though that I'm leaving money on the table though.
Why?
Well, because after it's staged, it'll look nicer and more people will make offers.
No, I'm saying if you could get your number.
Oh. I suppose so.
So when you look at this, okay, so when you look at it practically, let me just say, so when you're going to put money, you have a number, right? You think it's going to sell for more money when you get out, right?
Yes.
How much more?
$200,000.
$200,000 more?
Yeah.
Oh, you must have an awful house.
Well, it's over $1 million, according to my agent. Yeah.
Okay, and so do you have the $200,000 to put into the home?
The $200,000 to put in the home?
How much will you have to put into the home to get the 200?
Oh, the 200 extra? Not much, whatever the cost is for the staging.
And who gave them the bright idea that staging is important now?
The listing agent.
I thought you were going to be the listing agent.
No, I get to represent them on the buy side when they come up here. It was a referral.
Oh, I get it now. I'm sorry. John, I'll let you take over. Don't get me caught up on staging. In this market, staging is like a for sale sign.
Mindy, I got to ask before I start giving my opinions on that also. What area of Florida?
Southern Florida, Broward. I think it's Broward
County. Okay.
It's either Dade or Broward. I think it's Broward County.
That's fine. It's not Naples, so that's okay. I just
Right.
That's a very interesting stance. Staging. Guess what? You know what? If the house is a mess, staging is going to get you more. Here's the interesting thing. I just staged a house for a client, and he made a good amount of money, but his staging was $325,000. And we started the process in June of last year. We just got the furniture. So staging is if you're relying on staging, that is quite possibly a death nail, because where are you going to get the furniture? There is no furniture. So this is something that I'm sure your Florida seller, they're not a buyer yet, your Florida seller isn't aware of.
Interesting.
So, Denny, you're chomping at the bit. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically if you found the right house for them, that's awesome, because it's going to be difficult for them. That's a unicorn, like you say, and you have no control over the listing. I'm talking to you guys now. If you are going to be a listing agent, and in John's example, I mean, he was being controlled by the seller. Can you imagine if it takes 6 months to get the furniture in, or even longer, and you put $300,000 into it? Now we're talking about a $2 or $3 or $4 million house. I'm not talking about a $200,000 house. Can you see all that can go wrong? You see, we're in a market right now that the market, upward pressure on the market basically washes and erases any of our sins of the past. as long as it's worth more all the time. But however, can you understand if the market were to shift while you're doing that, how it could affect your seller? So I think if I were the listing agent, I would say if you could get this kind of, because when they go to find a rental and they're going to have to put money in that and they're going to have to carry the other house, all of that is eating into potential profit they're going to potentially make selling it for.
Exactly.
And I just wonder if it makes sense. And the best thing that can happen is they go up there actually, Mindy, and see what they can rent. And it might have chickens and stuff in it too. They'll say, no, let's just get real, honey, and let's sell the house. Let's buy something, right? So anyway, so we got a couple minutes here, 9 minutes. What's next? Who's got something they want to talk about or an objection we can handle? You guys want to do any buyer objections? Now we've got a good class up here. So really quick, I'll just go back through the announcement. If you're interested in learning more about our group training, email me at dennydeliverstraining@gmail.com. We have small group training. We have individual training packages available. Just kicking that off. It's not going to affect these classes. I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, it wouldn't be a week without you guys. So anyway, we have that starting here in March. So just email me. Anything in the chat? You guys have been quiet. I've been doing all the talking.
I have
Who's
one
got
objection.
something?
I have one objection. This woman wants to sell, her husband doesn't want to sell. He'll sell for such and such price. He said, let's sit down and talk. I can't, for some reason, she's not answering my phone calls, but how do I get her to set up that meeting with her and her husband? Is there any way to navigate that or any?
Anybody have any ideas?
All of my comments on that would be pretty snide, but listen,
Go
she
ahead.
makes the decision. At least in my house, if I didn't want to sell and my wife did, we're selling. And she's in the other room laughing. She just heard that and she started giggling. So what's the real reason that he doesn't want to sell? Have you gotten and figured that out yet?
Yeah, he's working, he drives a bus. It's an 1.5-hour commute to New York for him to drive the bus. And he's retiring in 3 years. And then they want to move to Florida. So he's like, why am I selling? I'll just stay here for 3 years and then move. She just is ready for a nice newly renovated house. And her friends have moved and she wants to change. Her last excuse was, oh, we need to wait till my daughter graduates. Her daughter's in 12th grade. She graduated last year. The house is still not on the market. So then she's like, well, if we get our number, my husband said he'll sell. But so I'm just like, let's come to the table and talk. Like, I want to get,
So you've got most of the job done there. The husband said, if I get my number, I'll sell.
He can get more than his number.
Awesome. Then you don't even have to tell him that. Right back to the model.
But she won't answer. I called her every single day this week.
You're stalking her.
Yeah, don't
I'm
stalk her. Show up with chocolate chip cookies or something.
I did
Right
that
on her
last
doorstep.
fall. Okay, I'll bring her some plans.
Yeah, show up on her doorstep. Say, I understand. Other than that,
Well, let me ask you, and this is for everyone. Is your goal to get a listing?
Yes, but I know you said that's not the goal. So what's
It's
the goal?
not. The goal is to help them.
So
And
it's
it
hard
may-
because I'm like conscious. I'm like, what's my motive? What's my motive? And it's hard to have two motives. I want to get the listing because I want money, because I love money, or I want to help them sell their house. No, I want the listing. I want cash. We have the numbers we got to meet. We got to do a sale. Just putting it out there.
Well, what would it be if you just relax a little bit and not be attached to the outcome and just attempt to help them?
Are you going to move to Fort Myers anytime soon?
Do you see the fin on her back? Come on, you guys. All right. So I would help them. When they like and trust you, they'll talk to you. And then
The
maybe
question
you'll be able to.
Do they need help?
Well, eventually they do. And so if their plan is in 3 years, I mean, does he really know what his house is worth now? Does he know where in Florida he wants to go? Does he know what's happening in the market in Florida? There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that you can start working on to build the relationship. So when they're ready, and your information most likely will move them quicker if you get rid of the commission breath and help them.
But what path am I taking them on? We have all the objections, but I'm not able to, it's the addressing and closing because I haven't ever sat down. I sat down with them last year. They wanted 385 less. I had 385. I don't know why it never came to fruition. Now they want 5. I could get them 5.
Well, what?
Are we going in circles?
What? How could just a matter of time go from 385? If they would have listed at 385 and you said yes, would you have listed it?
I had a buyer, so I would
For
have.
385?
Yeah.
Now it's worth 5?
Oh yeah, now it's worth 550.
Well, then are you really looking out for them then?
No.
If you'd have sold it for 385 because you had the buyer, now how credible are you? Now it's going to be 550. I wouldn't trust you. What can it bring? So, if you're going to at least help them, even if you have a buyer, I won't go down that road.
Right.
I would just say, hey, look, yes, you can get them 385, you can get them 550. And you've got 2 numbers, so that you might have a little bit of a trust issue there. Anyway, I don't know.
But come from the direction of helping them. But how do I close them if I want to help them?
Somebody
They'll let you
that.
know. They'll let you know. You have to come from care and consideration for them and take you out of it. So when they're ready and they trust you, they'll use you.
I was so nice to my wife dating her. She finally said, Denny, when are you going to finally marry me? They're going to come knocking on your door, right?
I would continue.
I make myself sound. Let me just clear my name for a minute.
I would continue to give them information on the market, the raise, if interest rates are rising and what their valuation would be. So there's a little bit of pressure, but not pressure because you're commanding them to sell today. That's just my thoughts.
Life is grand when you're not attached to the outcome. Yes, we want, and there's people out there that are hungry and you can serve them. People out there that aren't hungry, you'll have to wait till they are hungry. Doesn't mean you can't send them a menu every now and then. So you guys have been quiet. What ahas have you had? I've made a commitment to make sure we're dealing with the top objections you're going to be having, and I would love to see like sellers not wanting to sell because there's nowhere to go. If you can develop that conversation, like Jeff, as proficient as he is, he had an idea. That's going to give you a listing. And, a couple of those a month, a couple of those every few months is going to be great. So share some ahas. You don't have to put your camera on. Just give us some ahas of what you learned, because it's going to reinforce in your brain. And somebody might have been right in the middle of playing Candy Crush on their phone and missed it. And it's going to remind them of what was said.
Take them through the plan. Ask them what their plan is of solving the issue.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Denny, I think the biggest aha is because we go in knowing and assuming they're going to have to sell in order to buy. But having that conversation of getting them to tell you they're going to have to sell in order to buy, and what is your plan? I just thought that was genius, because if you walk through that conversation, they find their own answer.
Right. If you give them the answer way too soon without enough pain, they won't appreciate what you just did for them. You can't treat someone until they know they have a problem. What else? Thank you, Jeff. Couple more. Come on.
Paralleling it, like the closing, if we could do X, Y, Z, are you ready to go ahead?
Yep. Trial close. John, your final words. You were quiet today. I'm sorry. I was a microphone hog.
You know what, Denny? It is totally okay. With the stuff I've been working on this week, my voice is kind of shot anyway. So no, I think it was a great one, guys. Those of you that are going to family reunion, enjoy it. Look for us there. And in the meantime, any objections that you've got this week, write them down, shoot them an email to us, and we've got them. And we work on them every single week with you.
That's right. And if you're interested in that training program, just email me, Coach Denny Grimes. No, it's DennyDeliversTraining@gmail.com. DennyDeliversTraining@gmail.com. And this next week, be careful out there. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Denny.
Yep, you bet.
Thank you, Denny. Thank you, Denny.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Marky,
Hi,
miss you.
miss you. You were